Okay, so now I'm going to start on this, and a project like this, there's no straightforward way of doing something like this. Look how mangled all this is. Just look how mangled it is. And so you shouldn't set out with the idea that you'll beat on it with this one tool and straighten it all out. You're probably just going to make a bigger mess. It's going to take multiple tools, multiple processes, and most importantly, patience. So what I'm going to do is this is the tools I've got out here so far. So this guy and this and this. Not even sure if I'll use them. This, just a square, a rectangular piece of steel that's long. And then this chisel right here. And I'm going to try and get this all straightened out methodically. This up here is impossible. I can't even get to this. Right here, when you put your hand up under here, you can see my finger right there. See my finger going back and forth? But right above my finger, this part right here, is all flat. You can't put your hand or your finger back into this. You can't reach up and cup your fingers and put them back into this because this is all flat. So I cannot get to this. I can't even get to it. And then this side, of course, has got this shield over it, and it's got this shield keeping everything out. So this is an annoying spot, but I can straighten this out and start to straighten some of this other stuff out once this is straightened out. But first, we're going to start with this. Good morning. I do have my work cut out for me. Very odd. I was pretty impressed. I'm going to do what I always do on these trucks. And that just happens to be my thing, by the way. This paint job's probably 5-6 years old. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. And here he is leaving. It wasn't quite as fun as I was expecting. And that starts right about now. Okay, now I've got this starting to unfurl pretty well, but I want this right here to look like this. I guess I still need to straighten this one up. So there is a little more metal work to do over here. I got to straighten this up just a little bit. It's curving down just a hair. But I need that other side to look like this, only straight. And it needs to look like that on the end if I can swing it, right? That's gonna be difficult, considering this is how it looks on the end. So as you can see, I've got my porta power. Got some blocks on the ground. I'm gonna be shoving up on this while I beat down on this and beat down on this at the same time. I mean, at alternating times, but at the same time that I'm pushing. It's all gonna happen at about the same time. Go ahead and change this end out for this end so I can get up in here and push this up. See, this is all bent down and molded down. Okay, well, I've gotten some movement. As you can see, this was bent way down. Now it's only bent partially down. And this whole corner dips down, and there's not a lot I'm going to be able to do about that in the end. I can't take this out, so all that metal had to go somewhere. All that shrinkage had to go somewhere, which is why this is dipped down. I'll just build this corner up a little bit because I can't do anything about that. I can't replace this metal. I'll just build this corner up a little bit, but not until after I get most of the metal back in place and get its general shape back. And that's happening. As you can see, we're starting to get that C shape that we have on the other side. It just takes a little bit at a time. You have to think about what you're doing as you're doing it and do a little bit at a time. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and jack back up on it, just on this very corner. That way I can straighten this little bend out a little bit more. And as you can see, I got a lot of that kind of bump. It was just a big, gnarly, hardened, extra hardened bump. I got most of that out. And yeah, this is bent up here now, but that's not a big deal. I knew it would be. I'll go ahead and let this jack down and start straightening this back out now. Well, all right, at this point, I'm pretty happy with it. It still looks pretty chewed up, but as you can tell, the shape I need is there. See this C shape that comes out into this and then up and around this corner? See that shape? Now it comes straight over here. See that shape? Comes down and around the corner, does that C shape. Comes straight over here. Comes down around the corner, does the full C shape. Especially once I hold that back out of the way. So now I can go ahead and get all this prepped and get body work on it. I'm going to do a little bit of body work in here and do a little bit of body work up under there and a little bit of body work here on the end and bring this end up just a little bit. You know, I'm going to go ahead and form it and shape it after I've finished prepping it. I've got it sandblasted here, but I'll come around the corner. This is all sandblasted. I'll come in here and I'll get all this chewed up with a roll lock really well. We'll get it to where it really adheres. And then I'll go ahead and basically resculpt this, but there's not nearly as much to do, and it's going to be a solid repair because it's got its structure. It's got a steel shell around most of it. I can't do anything about that because whatever came down in this corner actually wiped that steel out. It's in there. It's mangled and cut into strips and in there. Something hit this thing so hard it actually just cut it. So as you can see here on the end, look how it's cut. So I'm not going to dig all that out. That doesn't make any sense. That's not going to add anything to the job. So I'm going to go ahead and get all this prepped in here and get all this, get some body work on it all and see how close we can get this to the other side. Okay, gang, this guy is completely ready for body work. I came through with a roll lock disc and with a burr tip, right? Just put it on my drill and alternated this out with a roll lock disc, a 2-inch roll lock disc. And got this all good and roughed up, all ground back where it goes. I've got that shape just about exactly like it should be. And now that that little spot is solved, I want to go ahead and move on to this last thing I need to do on this side. And I need to do it on both sides. And that is that the bottom of these doors, the skin is loose, as I've shown you. All the way across. It's like that over here. Because their weak ass little factory pinch welds that they put on there didn't hold. They busted loose one at a time. And I can just drill my holes here. Drill my 3/16 holes every third or fourth one all the way across and then just spot weld them from out here. And it should be less work and maybe even less damage. And then I've come down here and I've set myself up a workstation. And I don't have everything all unfolded yet, but I've already started drilling some holes. And see, you can see what they've done here. That's the reason that the paint is a chip right there and there and there and there and right there and there is because those are all spot welds. And for whatever reason, that does something to the metal that makes it porous and the paint sticks. So that's how you can tell these are all spot welds, right? That's how this is held to the truck so well with just what looks like 2 rivets on each end. Well, it's not. It's 2 rivets on each end for good measure, I suppose. Maybe that's just to hold it up there so they can run it through the robot that does the rest. But anyway, you can tell these are all just pinch welds. Well, so are these, but the problem is this pinch weld has to go through this very thick stuff right here, then through this layer, which is this one, and then into the outer skin and get them all. And the only one that is still holding on the entire thing, still totally snug, is this one. And the reason is because it's huge. Look at that. I mean, there's a spot weld on either side of it, but neither of these are holding. None of these are holding, but that big guy right there is. And that's the only one that is on the entire bottom skin because they just needed to, I don't know, turn up their voltage or whatever. What the method they were using is fine for this. It only went through this layer. But to go through this layer, and then burn into the outer skin effectively, it didn't work on either door. So that's a faulty manufacturing process. So what I've done is I've kept the door down so I could really put some pressure on here and drill these out. And then as soon as I get through this thick layer, then I go ahead and lift the door and then carefully, ever so carefully, with even just slow rotation, drill through this skin. And then it hits that outer skin, which I just showed you is bouncy. And that gives me some warning. It hits it, and then as soon as it goes through and hits it, I just stop what I'm doing because I'm not drilling very fast or pushing very hard. So it pays no price except for down in the bottom of each of these holes, there's a little shiny spot. Just a little shiny spot where the end of the drill bit nicked it. And what that does for me is that's all the prep I need. As soon as my welding wire hits that, my electrified welding wire hits that, it hits that spot and immediately the two fuse. So having that little spot is actually the answer, but not going all the way through. And so, yeah, this is a process that you have to be careful with. So it takes more time than just drilling holes. But in the end, this thing will be fastened every bit as often as they intended it to. It's about every other one has a pinch weld that's not holding. And now it's about every other one that's gonna have one of my welds that will. And so I was debating how I'm gonna go ahead and hold that skin against there while I weld it. That's something you don't get a whole bunch of second chances on. So what I've decided to do was I went next door. We have a little wood stash next door, not the rather large wood stash that I have of used wood in the shed. I'm talking next door. There's a different stash, and I found a part of a 1x that had been ripped, and I cut off the length of it that I needed. It was twice this long, and I cut off the length I needed because I want to go ahead and put it up under here in that spot all the way across to hold that all at once is the idea. All right, you can see I've got the apex right there, the point, just about where the pinch welds are to really put the pressure on this. All the way across, same here, got it down just a little bit where the apex of this board right here, of where this is going to meet, what's going to be pushing on it the very most, is going to be right about where these are. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a flashlight and look down in these and make sure that we have actually done the job before I commit to it, because for all I know that the body of this is warped enough that this isn't doing its job out in the middle in places. I wouldn't know. So I need to get a light and shine it down in there and make sure we're actually pressed against before I start welding. And now this side here is like the other side, only it's not bulged out as much. You can't really tell. At a glance, it all looks like it's flat. See, that's not that much movement. It's broke loose. You can clearly see that, but it's just not bulged out like the other side. But it is the same as the other side in that it's only attached in the middle, and then from here over and from about here over, like the middle three are the only ones attached, and from there over and from there over, and the very end ones are the only other ones that are, and everything in between, again, it's not moving far, but it is moving. So that one also needs it, and that's why I've got the holes drilled. Now I'll go ahead and I'll finish up that other side and get it welded, and then I'll go ahead and move that board over to this side so it presses up against it and does the same trick, and then we'll get this side welded too. And another thing I'm going to do here directly is I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. This ugly little bent up piece of shit, whatever this is, it can't possibly be useful. I can't imagine what that would be used for. So I went ahead and called the owner, or texted him and said, hey, you want to send him a picture of it? And I said, you want me to cut this out? And he said, yep. So this was probably from an owner before them. But anyway, you can see it's all just bent and mashed and in the way. Keeps you from loading anything consistently at all. Yeah, and now would be the time. Now that we've got it under the knife, now would be the time. So I'm going to go get a die grinder with a cutting wheel on it, cut these off, and then do a little bit of grinding on what's left just to kind of get it to mellow back so we don't have any sharp edges sticking up. So when you go to load something in the future, you're not dragging it across anything sharp. Get all that taken care of while we're in there. And as I mentioned, I'll go ahead and grind those off so there's nothing sharp here, even those ones. And then we'll clean up this little mess, get this wire wheel, the rust wire wheeled out of there. And then this will be part of the project now. All right, so I got a bunch of welding done to it, and we'll go ahead and we'll have a look underneath here. See all that penetration? Not a lot, as much toward the middle. That's more of that lightweight stuff right there and right there. Nothing really in the middle because I didn't weld that. But then out here, we got them really good. That's the way theirs should have looked in the factory before they painted this thing. Obviously they did not, but there's no spots left on this entire bottom that are loose. They're all snug, they're all welded, they're all accounted for. So I'm gonna go ahead and move all this equipment over to the other side and I've already drilled the holes over there. And I'll go ahead and get those welded up now. Okay, while she's still hot, we'll go ahead and look. Looks like we got good penetration on all the spots. I don't think any of them are loose, and as you can see, I took some license plates and taped them over the gas caps, because the gas caps have been masked up, but that's not to guarantee there's no fumes in the area, especially when you're welding literally directly above them. But I think we got it. I'll go ahead and test it and make sure, but I think I got it. All right, so I've got all the grinding done that I need to have done in here. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to take this off, and I'm going to leave this link, but I'm going to cut this link off. So if they need this in the future, they can put one of those links on that has the screw thing on the side, one of those replaceable links, and put this on only when they need it. And from there on out, they can leave it on if they want. I just don't want it to leave here with this on, for two reasons. One, I don't think it's in use anymore. I think whatever went here that this secured isn't there and probably hasn't been for a while. Maybe not even in the ownership of these guys. So I don't think it's necessary. But I am going to include it all. I'm going to cut this link, include this all in the cab when they come to get it, so they can put a replaceable link on there if they want, in case I'm wrong. But the other reason, and this is the big reason, is all it's going to do in the meantime, all it's going to do is flop around. Every time the truck takes a corner, goes over a bump, it's just going to sit here and just destroy what we're trying to do here. That is all this is going to do. So if they want to put it back on later, they certainly can, but I don't like it there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this link, get it out of there. Just like that. Cut that link out of there. Now that troublemaker's out of there. Like I said, they can put a replaceable link on it and use it in the future, although I doubt they will. Now I'm going to go ahead and get to the back side of this and pull that guy off. Pull all these out, since they held something on from yesteryear that's probably not in use anymore. And then start prepping, I don't know how many holes. It'd be interesting to count, because there's probably 40, 50 holes, maybe, at least, to prep, so I can go ahead and get all this fiberglass done here. And since I just recently confirmed with the owner whether or not they're keeping this, because this would go to probably a small crane. And I'd imagine that this right here was where the power supply went down through. So I needed to know if they bought this crane with this, if they still use it at all. It doesn't look, looking at the sides, like it's had a crane on it in quite some time. But this isn't something that you put undercoater on, right? This is all going to get undercoating up here and back here and in here and back here and on the bumper. That's all getting undercoater. And you don't put that here because this still needs to pivot. So I needed to know whether or not we're leaving this. This would be a lightweight crane indeed, because these are just self-tapping screws and there's not even a plate underneath it to brace it. It's just right through the top. So it's going to be some pretty lightweight stuff. So I got a hold of him, and I texted him, and he texted back and said, nah, we're not going to keep it. So we'll get rid of this too. We'll plug these holes. We'll plug this hole as well. We'll just add that to the list of holes we're getting ready to plug here. Okay, gang, these are all prepped now. All these guys. All these guys. You see, they're all prepped. Bunches as we go. More and more and more as we go. Both sides are like this. They're all prepped. And I've got both sides prepped, so now I'm going to go ahead and mix up some fiberglass and get all these little holes filled. And that's all I'm going to concentrate on with this batch of fiberglass, because I don't have to be as concerned with running out of time. And now here I've got my my station ready. This is just on a TV tray here, and with cardboard on top of that, and then cardboard on top of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put resin in the cup, put hardener in the cup, mix it up, spread it out here, spread it out with the spreader, put these on there, dot them on there, all these little pieces that I cut, and then put another layer over the top, spread it out with this, and then bring it over here and fill all of these. Cover all these holes in all of these chambers on this side. Then I'm just going to grab this board and what's left, leave all this here, bring it over here to this table that's waiting, set it on here, and then do the same thing over here. All right, now these are all filled. All these holes are filled, as you can see. Same with up here. You can see every one of them's got a fiberglass plug in it. Over here, there was twice as many as there was over here. Yeah, there was a lot of holes over here, but there was almost twice as many over here. We got them all, as you can see. Just pick one at random. There was just sets of 4 everywhere. But all of them are filled now. And all of them on the inside here are also filled. So now I can move on to the next fiberglass repairs that I have to do, which is actually a set of repairs. And although all those repairs are all in this general area right here, they're all condensed to this area, they can't be done at the same time as each other. They have to be done in a certain order, as a lot of fiberglass repairs are. If you just take after a fiberglass repair thinking that you're going to nail it in one shot, it's not that often you can do that. There's certain repairs you can all day long, like this one right here. When I prep the backside of that, yeah, I'll put a patch on it, we're done. That makes fiberglass repair look very, very rudimentary and simple. But there's other repairs, like you're gonna see with this one, that have to be done in steps. And the reason for that is because, well, for instance, this is a separate fiberglass style plate right here. And it was glued on here. This whole thing was just panels that are glued together, and that's the way a lot of these hoods are. And I gotta say, since 2003, it has held up well. It's a pretty good design here. But it got hit by something, and that's what messed everything up. And so we've got, you know, just a little guy right there. That's nothing. Then we've got this, which is separated completely. And if you look at this side, see how this comes into this? See that? Now look over here. See how this goes right around here? Just the same exact surface as each other. And over here again, see how it runs right into it and it's about a 1/2 inch? This all has to come out. But it can't just come out on its own. This all has to be propped out, pressed out, and then cemented in place that way. But the very first repair that has to happen is actually right here. This needs to be pried out. Then I need to be able to sand it, or I can just chop it off. That's my choice. But I don't need to chop it off in this particular case, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some sandpaper and I'm going to put it over the end of a paint stick, and I'm just going to put the paint stick down there until this is all sanded. And in doing so, both sides of the paint stick will have abrasive on them. And in doing so, both sides of this are going to get sanded at the same time. And then when that's done, I'll take a single piece of fiberglass matting, this size, and it'll be drenched in resin, and then I'll go ahead and put it in there, close this, and tape it shut. And that will hold this. It'll effectively just glue it back together on a permanent basis. They'll never ever hear from this again. And then once this is done, that gives me this to tape to, this nice painted surface that this side of the tape can adhere to. Whereas if I prep this first, that won't be there. That's going to be rough and ready fiberglass that tape doesn't stick so well to in this application, where I need it to stick well and do its job there. And so I'll do that first, and then once this is set up, then I'll peel that tape, then I'll get all this prepped. But if you can tell in the video, this doesn't have the same smooth contour that this does. This is almost flat, whereas this is pointed out at me. It's coming out this way. And the reason for that is because it got hit, and when it did, it shoved all this forward. And now this has been broken for quite some time, who knows how long, but a while. And I mean, you look at this, that's been broken a while, you know, years. And the weight of it, just the weight of this, you know, jiggling down the highway and stuff, has just mashed these together, just mashed them together and over and over and over, and made it point out. And that's really where all this damage is. So what I need to do is fix this one, press this one out with like a hood prop or something like that, get it all pressed out and get this repaired, and then go ahead and repair this, because this has to come out first. This has to come out first so this gets the proper shape, because I notice when I pull on this, see how that flexes? When I'm doing this and getting it out to where it goes, which is right here, that's where it is, that's where it goes. And I'll just do this. And as I'm doing that, look at this. See that? It's in a whole different spot. So if I repair this right now, then this is going to be considerably harder to repair, because this isn't where this goes. So we need to put this where this goes. We're going to put this where this goes. Then we're going to come over here and put this where this goes. Then we're going to come over here, and this will be in the position where we know it has to go. This is glued together. Everything is what it is. Then we know this has to be in that spot. Then we can go ahead and grind it down and do an external inlay style repair here, because we can't get to the underside of this one. We can get to the underside of this one. So we'll prep this, do this one first, then we'll come over here, we'll prep this one, we'll press it out, we'll get that pressed in place and and glued, and then we'll come up here and prep this guy and get it done. And then you'll also notice down below here when I do the same thing, when I pull out on this, look what this one does. That one closes like it needs to. And this one goes where it needs to. So that's why this has to be done first. And you might think to yourself, does it really matter? I mean, really? That little bit of movement, does it really matter? No, I suppose not. But this is gonna be way harder to repair and under way more tension if this is all repaired right where it sits. Right now it's fairly free to move because those are cracked, but it's not going to be anymore. It's going to be really hard to get to pull. Then you glue it to this and it's just going to try and pull the fender in. So, and that's not the worst thing in the world, right? It's a little bit of deformity, but I'm not planning on fixing those $12 covers or whatever they're, $15 covers that go on here. I'm not going to put a bunch of my time and effort and resources into a $50, $60, $80, $100 repair on the back of this one that's all busted up and cracked and has the big holes wallowed out in it right here where they put bolts in it and all that sort of stuff. And it's broken in a few spots. I'm not going to repair all that and then fix it on the outside and paint it and spend half a day on that when they cost like 15 bucks. So we've got new ones coming. Heck, I have new lights coming. So, and a new handle coming. But we'll just use this one the entire time. We'll just use it the entire time, maybe even paint it, who cares? Then on put together day, we'll just swap it out with the new one. But this over here, when we go to put these new ones on, none of this is gonna line up. The two little holes, factory holes that they put in it aren't gonna line up with these holes. None of this stuff's gonna wanna line up if the whole thing is drooped down. Okay, so I took this paint stick and I just wrapped this paper around it and bent it to the contour of this, and then just sanded down in there pretty vigorously. And pulled this out quite a ways, and then did some hand sanding and just made sure I got it all. As you can see, it's all prepped down in there. Even on the back side here, I don't know if I can get you there or not, but it's all prepped. So now I can, and it sits in there quite a ways. This is down from here, which is what I wanted. I wanted this to be a deficit so I could put a layer of fiberglass in there and use that as my glue patch, kind of. And then I'm gonna put tape over it, and then I'm gonna let it set up. A little piece of matting like that. As you can see, it's gonna fit in there just perfectly. And that's about where it's gonna go, just on the other side of that panel. All right, I got it good and sloppy, as you can see. Absolutely saturated and then some. Okay, that's in a good spot. Now I'll take part of a paint stick that I just broke off, put it on here, and then put some more hardcore tape on there. I put this tape on there to keep the paint stick from sticking to the fiberglass and becoming a problem. There, now that's going to hold that together pretty darn well. Now we'll just give that 15 minutes or something to get good and set up. Maybe even a half hour. It doesn't really matter. I'm not pushing the schedule too hard. I still have to do some prep down here, which isn't going to hurt anything there. You know, I've got this prep here ready for fiberglass. What I've done is I've ground this back quite a bit, over 1/8 of an inch. Ground the bottom of that down quite a bit, about 3/4 or more of the way, all the way through it. And then I even ground into this. And what you see over here is this piece in the factory is just one solid piece that narrows and then comes down here a ways. I don't know how far. Looks like maybe the entire way. And then this piece glues onto the outside of it. And the two are adhered together by that glue that they use in the factory. That seems to work pretty darn well. But here's my point. This piece is a solid piece, and this piece is a different piece. There's not enough sticking out there for me to make this one solid piece inside of this piece like the other side is. There's just not. I would need at least a 1/2 inch total, at least, and that's really cutting it close. And what I have is a 1/4 inch at its fattest. So I don't have enough there to get onto. So I've ground back into this way to have more to get onto here, and I've ground back this way in a V shape. As you can see, this no longer comes straight out, it is V'd out hard. That way this can all be one. I'm not gonna fill this in straight. I don't want it to be, I don't want the lack of symmetry would bother me on this truck, and it would bother about any other owner. Just have this solid and that one have that factory gap that runs all the way up. So it's a look, it's an actual body line. So I'm going to respect that body line, but I am going to build the whole thing up. This is all getting fiberglass. So as you can see, it is 3/4 of an inch on either side of the repair when you think about it. When you look at it, look at where the repair is and where the prep is. So now we've got a big V shape, and it's going to be a good solid repair. Then I'll come through with my body work, come straight out, sculpt the end of it, see it still looks like the end of this, and go from there. Well, now it's been at least a half an hour, and that initial repair that I made on that is now good and set up. So I've opened the hood, and at this point I've got this all prepped, and you can see this is prepped even up around here. We'll go ahead and get a little patch on there. This is all prepped in here, all thoroughly prepped in here, as well as here, as well as there. And that, I have no idea what happened there, but at some point something in the life of this truck struck that hard enough at just one point. It's not like it wore it that way, it struck it somehow, and it wafered it on the outside. So I ground the wafered part out so I can do body work over it, and then I'll just do a repair on the inside so it's no longer weak and compromised. And that means that the next thing on the list of things to do is to go get a prop, at least one prop, and put it over here somewhere, shove it over to here, and shove this against there, and get everything 100% set where I want it, and then go ahead and get it all fiberglassed. And so what I've done here is I've just taken this little 1/4 inch thick piece of wood right here, and I put a piece of spreader, bodywork spreader, and they get progressively thicker, so they're like a wedge. So I had a strip of them. I cut a few of them into strips so I can do different sized areas on vehicles. So I had one sitting around that was already about 3/4 of an inch wide. Put it down in there to wedge this away from this, and therefore close that gap. And then I put this prop up in here to shove this up into the whole thing, and to keep this just right, to where this is level with this. Just having the wedge there made this come in just a hair. Brought this in about 1/4 of an inch, and I didn't want it that way. I wanted it back out right where it goes. So now I've got this held exactly where it goes, which means that now it's time to go ahead and mix up some resin and get some matting cut to the correct sizes and get a game plan formed and get this all glassed in place. And I think that I'm just going to go ahead and leave this for the evening because this has quite a bit of tension on it, and so I want it to be rock solid. So I'll just go ahead and leave this for the evening, and then tomorrow morning I'll show up and I'll prep the inlay style repair on the front and go ahead and get it done. And I couldn't help but notice once I got everything all pressed into place there that this guy is as closed as it's ever going to get. Nice and closed up. So I just put this piece of paper there just because I don't feel like this got sandblasted. So if that stuff drips across it, it's not going to come off easy. So that's why I put that paper there. I'm going to go ahead and do this repair while I'm at it. And just like that, it's first thing the next morning. And we got this repair done yesterday. As you can see, it sat all night like this. Had this propped out right where I want it. As you can see, this is good and even. Like it wasn't before. This was a 1/2 inch in. Now it's good and even. The angle is correct. I put this single piece of tape on there just to keep this sucked down into this lip. Otherwise, it would have just kind of spanned over the top of it and not really touched it. And I needed all of this involved. All 3 of these panels involved heavily. So that's why I put that one piece of tape in there. As you can see, it really pushed it down into that corner. That's a good way to get your fiberglass to stay inside of corners like that. We got this repair done. Got that little repair done. Then I came under here and did this repair, as you can see. And now I can go ahead and feel free to remove this telescoping hood prop. Run my saws all along all the edges that need it, clean up any burrs that need to be cleaned up. Go ahead and close the hood and prep that last repair. And just like that. That is held in there about as tight as you could ever get it. Now I'll go ahead and clean all this stuff up. Perfectly level. That worked out great. And like basically all auto body repairs, there's a number of different ways of going about that. I could have done this a number of ways. I could have cut it clear down here so I got a good mesh of all new material, but I'd had to sculpt that material. So, you know, this is the lazy way and every bit as effective because it's all thoroughly glued back together. It's the same height. I don't have to do any adjustments that way, and then I just have a small repair there to make. All right. So as you can see, this is a healthy repair. It's down in there like it should be. It's touching fully here, it's touching fully there, and it's touching fully there. And the center part is about 4 layers thick. The rest of it is 3 layers thick. So there is a bunch of material in there, and it's holding on by quite a margin now compared to how it would be if I tried to just glue it to that little 1/4 inch of stuff that was there. So I'll go ahead and get this prepped and get it all 100% ready, get the repair laid in place. So while that's curing, I can go ahead and start cleaning this up. Okay, so what I've got here is paper thin. It might even be thinner than paper out here on the end. There's nothing left. I only left that there so we had something to just easily track to. But other than that, this is very thinned out, all the way down into here where I've just taken it out completely. Now I'll go ahead and put a inlay style patch on there and let that start curing out. Now I got the repair firmly in place. It is 2 layers thick, 3 layers thick in the middle, especially down here. Now I've covered it up with tape. That way I can go ahead and finish molding it. I can push it right down into all the crevices and make it as even as possible just by having this tape over the top of it. I'm not just trying to get it smooth. That is not the point. I'm trying to get it actually level with everything. Get it as perfect as possible so it needs as little body work as possible. Why not? I'm here. That's what I'm doing. That's why there was an extra amount right here. I could feel it was all bulbous, and there was just a little bit of a shallow amount right here. That's why I just spent a second moving that down there. So now this is all moved down there, and this spot's a lot more filled, and this spot's less bulbous. That's just a good way of moving this stuff around without, because you couldn't anyway. I mean, you had a gloved finger, you would just be smearing it and then pulling half of it off with the fibers. After a while, it'll just get really messy. But this way, super clean, and you can move it right where you need it. Okay, I've got this all prepped and ready for body work, and as I was doing it, I noticed that a half circle or a circular type of crack right there. And when I pushed on it with my thumb, I noticed that it actually broke free on the outside. So something had hit this pretty darn hard and shoved it back far enough to crack and actually break, and then it just came back down. So it was always going to be that way. Even if you put body work on it, if anything ever pushes on it, it's just going to crack again. So I went ahead and did I went ahead and ground it out and did an inlay style repair here, because you can't get to the back side of this part. Did an inlay style repair right here too after I ground it out. And at this point, it's about time I can go ahead and unmask this guy. And I did this just so it wouldn't get onto unprepped stuff, and I can go ahead and just cut that with a Sawzall or whatever. I'm not going to right now because this is still really soft. You don't want to go cutting on it or sawing on it or sanding on it or anything when it's that soft. It's set up enough I could pull the tape, but that's about it. It is still, like I said, really soft. See that? You don't want to mess with it at this point. Plus, taking the tape off at this point gives it a better chance to sit in air dry. It doesn't need air, but it does help when you can take the tape off when it's set up enough but still tacky and vulnerable. It'll cure about twice as fast. And while I'm waiting for that to go ahead and cure out up front there, I'll go ahead and start peeling some of this back. And the reason for that is, well, number one, it needs to be done, but also if I'm going to do any body work here, and I already have all my dents marked out by simply sanding on them, the dull spots are where the dents are. And the issue with that is I don't know if I can fix those dents over the top of this paint or not. Yeah, it's clear over here. It may very well be healthy over here, but I need to know for sure. So I need to start hacking away on this and see what we got. I might end up having to strip the whole door. Now, I've showed on my channel on more than a few videos the difference between feathering back paint when it's good, it's solid, and it's ready to be recoated, and when it's not. And I'll show you the difference again on this video. These are very subtle differences too. See this? See how kind of smooth that is? They'll just come right down here. See that? See how that's not quite as smooth? Now see that? See how that's got a bit of a ragged edge to it? Like a sharper edge, it's not smooth right there. That still needs to be pulled back. By the time we get back to here with it, it probably will be smooth. But you can see this is ready. This isn't quite ready. Not quite. And this isn't at all. But right next to it, right back in here, is. Right there, not quite. Right there, yeah. Right there, nope. Nope. Not quite. Look at that, still kind of ragged, not quite. Nope. Nope. Barely starting to be. Right there, we're barely starting to be. Going this way, we may not get into good stuff at all. Going this way, I have the feeling we will. We'll turn this into good material. See how it's not quite ready yet? See how it's breaking away sections all at once? Look at that. Just knocking entire sections out. Look at that. This back here is getting good. Down here, we're finally starting to get good. And now at this point, you can't just go chasing this with the same sandpaper forever. You have to keep your sandpaper sharp. That's important. Even if it means you're being a little bit wasteful. At this point, when you're doing this, you have to keep sharp paper. I wouldn't recommend going any finer than 180. That's what I'm using right now is 180. You could do as coarse as 120, but you know, you might end up paying for that on the backside because it might scratch up the paint that you leave pretty deep, but we're gonna be high build epoxy primering this anyway. So in that case, it doesn't matter, but I prefer 180. It's kind of my go-to for things like this. And if the paint turns out to be too thick or too much of a handful, yeah, I will immediately switch to something else. But you can see how we're breaking this down. And now I'm gonna go ahead and change out my paper, even though it's only been a second. It was almost wasteful, but you have to have sharp paper. Again, we're gonna go ahead and try to take some paint off with the air tip. We already have right here. Here's where we started. We just blew all this off. All right, well at this point I've got the bodywork and the glazing done on the door here. Now I'm gonna come up here, go ahead and peel these off. Get that stuff off of here. I'll leave that there, I'm just covering the hinge. All right, and we managed to keep all this stuff separate, glued all this together well. Now we'll go ahead and get all this prepped and get the bodywork on all of it. Okay, so what we've got here, I can tell by the way this is sanding. See how it's feathering back all right here? This is probably going to be decent behind here like it was on the other side for whatever reason. But look at, this is just destroyed by sections at a time. Sections the size of a $50 are just disappearing. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one with the air tip like I did the other side. And we'll see what all we can get to come off of it. Well, all right, that revealed quite a bit, as you can see, all the new stuff that got revealed. So it's first thing the next morning, and yesterday I spent the bulk of my day mixing up domestic chores with what was going on in the shop, but the majority of my time was spent in the shop yesterday, and I went ahead and I got the driver's side door all done. Got all the body work on the hood done, except for that one little spot that still needs glazed. But the rest of this is all done and ready. As you can see, it looks like it did before it ever got damaged. And over here I went ahead and did the passenger door as well. This is completely ready to go. And now the crew's coming in here this morning. They're going to be in here about any minute. And when that happens, I'm going to go ahead and set them to sanding and scratching. And there's a little bit of masking that still needs to be finished up, and mask up that wheel. And some of this stuff didn't quite get done the other day. And then we'll go ahead and have them scratch stuff like this, which is going to be a little bit of a chore in itself. Have to do some sanding and scratching on this while I'm busy tackling some of this body work back here. Yeah, some of the trickiest situations we end up getting into involve stuff like this, where the paneling is flat but yet wavy. From the factory, wavy. And when you're fixing dents within those waves, because you can't fix the waves or the doors would be solid body work from the factory. And so that's what I'll be picking through here today. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead. I've got my initial body work prepped. There's a bunch of little tiny dings on here I don't have prepped yet, because I just wanted to prep where the body work's going. Once that's done, then I'll go ahead and prep where all the glazing is going. But I got these two doors prepped first. I'm only going to do a door or two at a time, and then get it all glazed, get it all finished, and then just move on from there. Now, when it comes to doing utility bed doors, they're a whole different world than utility bed panels. This panel right here, over twice as thick, maybe 3 times thicker than the door skin. The panel on the inside of the door is twice as thick. This panel back here, over twice as thick as the door skin. The door skins are thin because they want the doors to be light enough to not wear the hinges out, to not wear everything out and crack everything bouncing down the highway all those years. You know, it makes sense, but it's from the factory, it's folded with a machine, stamped onto something else with a machine, and it all happens with machines, and it all happens all at once. And the problem with that, it's not really a problem, but the issue that a body man has is where to start and where to stop, because these panels are nothing but wavy. From the factory, they're just wavy. You don't dare try and tear into that. So you actually find yourself fixing small dents within waves. And that's really what a lot of this is about. As you can see, I got my light down there. And I don't know how well this will show up on camera, but this door is just nothing but waves. All the way along the bottom half, and then along the top half, there's a big wave right here. There's one on the other side, really big one right here. This one right here, same thing. This is pushed clear in. This is all one big wave. This is another wave right here that runs vertical. So there's an inward wave here, an outward wave here, and another inward wave here. And then there's all those dents. And there is a bunch of them. And a huge fold in the door. This is all bodywork from here down. And then here, it's the same kind of thing. I'm fixing small dings within big waves. Smaller dings within big waves. And here's a decent sized dent. Here's a ding that's decent sized. All within good sized waves. And this metal is so thin that even if you had a stubborn approach and you had all the body work in the world and you had all the time in the world and money wasn't an object and neither is your personal time, and you said, okay, let's just cover these with bodywork then. Let's just make it the straightest utility bed ever. Impossible. These panels are so wavy. They give so easily. They're so wavy. And they just give. And trying to do bodywork over a panel that easily gives like that is very difficult. Next to impossible unless you have a lot of experience. If you have a lot of experience, it's just very, very difficult. It's a pain in the ass. But if you don't have experience, it's impossible. There's no way you're going to pull that off. And in the end, let's just say you do, and then you have all these straight panels. All you have is a utility bed with straight panels that looks the exact same as the truck parked next to it with utility bed with stock panels. Because when you're walking across straight like this, and this is all painted, you are not going to be able to tell the difference between this one and one that's had all the panels straightened out. I'm only showing you the waves at an extreme angle with a really, really bright light at the end. The fact is, when you're head on, you can't see it. So it's a smart design. It's good on their part. You know, it keeps things cheaper. It keeps things light. And but the guy painting it has to discern what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. It's important to me to fix all the dents, dings, and scrapes and corrosion and stuff. But it's not important to me to fix a bunch of factory waves indoors that are unimportant. And I won't be doing it either.
Splice Original. Splice Original.